And we welcome you into Dodger Poke Report, where this afternoon we have a very, very, very special guest, pitching coach for the Great Lakes Loons, David Anderson, joins Dodger Poke. So, David, thank you so much for joining this afternoon.
Absolutely, Casey. Thank you for having me. Really pumped to be here.
I know you've had a crazy schedule all day long on your off day. You know, when you get that one off day each week, you got to try to cram everything into that one day, don't you?
No doubt. On the field, off the field, it's the biggest game planning day that we have. So it is normally chocked full for sure.
It's a good thing that you were taught to be so disciplined at Christian Brothers Academy and then Muhlenberg. I can only imagine the amount of discipline it took to be a good student athlete at both of those places. So let's back you all the way up to your upbringing in Syracuse, New York, Christian Brothers Academy. Take us through that time.
No doubt. So I started at Christian Brothers Academy my freshman year of high school. Made the varsity team as a freshman. There were three of us, and it was probably one of the most influential experiences I've had, getting to play for Tom Dodder. Still talk to him to this day, and he was definitely just a big part in my development as a player and in my baseball career.
Well, I know that you have packed a lot of baseball into your career. You mentioned in your baseball career, and man, you've had a bunch of different experiences, especially for the age that you're at. We're going to unwind all of them as we go on, and I'm so excited because, you know, when you talk about the baseball world, and you seem to be a lifer with the game of baseball, just cramming the amount of experience that you can in the amount of time you have is really cool because you get to be around so many different kinds of people that can influence you in so many different ways. And then you kind of take a little bit from everybody and make who you want to be, don't you?
Hey, that's exactly right. And I think every stop I've been at, I've taken at least one or two things that I say, I really, really like how that's done, learn from other things, and it just helps you shape the way you go about things. So I completely agree.
Okay, I must say I'm a little nervous because I might be in over my head. You're very smart, having gone to Christian Brothers Academy and Muhlenberg, and you also majored in mass communications. So I might be in over my head just a little bit here.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Okay, take us through your time. Why did you decide to go to Muhlenberg and your time there? And I know you had a very successful career there. You were their ace for, I believe, 3 years in a row. So, and then you had some good summers playing in the Collegiate League. I know you were an all-star in the New York League there. So take us through that time.
Yeah, I actually picked Muhlenberg because I was going to be a dual sport athlete there, baseball and soccer. And the academic piece was pretty important to us. So we made a pretty good decision there. Ended up just playing baseball. I went into my freshman year actually with an injury, a pretty bad concussion from an accident. And I missed the first soccer season and then went baseball only. So baseball has always been my number one focus, but I've always played basketball, soccer, and baseball, and that was a school that was going to allow me to do more than just one of them. So that was the fit there. I was lucky enough to play 2 years in the Atlantic League after I finished. Really great experience there, and even there, you just learn from guys that, we had 25-man roster. I think 16 of them had big league time, and I'm a 22-year-old on the team, just kind of hanging around. So I was taking notes, figuring out what these guys do, what they were good at, what they looked at, why they did this, and, just be really curious. So everywhere I've been is try to be curious and figure things out for myself based on what other people do as well.
You mentioned taking those notes, and we mentioned kind of taking something from this person or maybe this situation, and, one or two from each situation you've been in to make yourself. So when you took those notes, would you say it was more physical on the field, or was it more just the daily process of how those guys processed the game and got ready?
Man, that's a great question. I would say it was the preparation and the process with them. The phrase, when you're in college, go about it like you're a professional, sure. Act like a professional, but you don't know what that looks like until you actually see it, because, I thought there's a lot of things that I did at a professional level until I met those guys. And then I said, whoa. And then there was a moment, I think it was at the end of my first year, I called my dad and I was like, I'm pretty good at playing catch. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, just little things that you never notice. And then you get around guys like that and they just sharpen you. So you become really good at things that you didn't realize you might not have been as good as you thought you were until you're in that environment.
I've always found, baseball being a game of failure like it is, that the more you're prepared, you're always going to fail. It's not going to keep you from failing. But when you do fail, if you know that you put all the preparation into it, you can live with it because you did your best, right?
Exactly right. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned in college coaching right out of the gate is, that's one of the biggest barriers. Some guys don't want to prepare to the fullest level because then there's a scapegoat. Then it's, oh, well, I didn't put that much into it. That's why I failed, not I wasn't good enough. So I definitely think that preparation piece is one of the first hurdles to get over that I learned at that level.
You talked about your time in the Atlantic League, and you must have loved being at Muhlenberg because you went back and you became their pitching coach in 2016.
Yes. So that was something my junior year, I went to our head coach and said, hey, do you mind if I join the staff when I'm done playing? And he said, if you're still thinking that when you're done playing, you can have a spot. And sure enough, I said, the second that I'm done, I want to come back and coach. So I knew that I always wanted to be in baseball since I was a little kid. And it was an easy decision. I want to play as long as I can. If I can't play, I want to coach. If I can't coach, I want to be in the booth. So one of those things.
So you either wanted to broadcast baseball or play baseball or coach baseball. Like I said, you were going to be a lifer, right?
That's correct. That is correct. You got that one on the head.
So 2017, you go to be a coach at Cornell. So take us through why you left Muhlenberg and went to Cornell.
Yeah, so my first year at Muhlenberg, I was an assistant pitching coach, helped around where I could. Second year, I got to serve as the recruiting coordinator and the pitching coach. And then in the college baseball coaching world, you almost got to go through, it sounds a little backwards, going from a paid position to a volunteer assistant, sure. But that's actually moving up. So it was something that was huge for me, getting to go to the Division I level, get to coach guys there, get to go see different places there. We opened up against Texas A&M my first year, so you got to see the real deal. So that was a really cool experience for sure.
Yeah, and talk about your one of the cool experiences with you is twice you've been the head coach of one of the really, really good collegiate league teams in the summertime, and I think that's great experience especially for a guy in your position being a minor league pitching coach, because it's very similar in the sense that you're trying to win games every day, but at the same time, you're still trying to develop players. You're trying to develop skills, maybe create some versatility in guys. So talk about your experience coaching in the collegiate levels, the collegiate leagues.
I think that was one of the most beneficial experiences I've had in my coaching career. You got to shape the roster. You got to do it all. We had a GM, and luckily at both spots, they said, hey, you go make the roster. So you're going and filling it. Yes. You're building it yourself. You're saying, hey, I think this is the brand of baseball we want to play. This is how we're going to go about it. This is the guy we're going to get. So that was definitely a lot of fun. And then the responsibility piece. There's nobody else it's on. So if something goes wrong, you got to learn how to adapt, adjust, and figure it out. So there was definitely a lot of learning curves in that, but I had great staffs at both spots. My first one is the head coach at Lancaster Bible, Caleb Abney now. And then our hitting coach is the director of player development at Georgia Tech. And then my second year, I brought back Nick Askew, who is still at Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. And our other assistant is now head coach of our Myrtle Beach League team. So I had really good guys surrounding me that made things really easy as well.
So knowing how much help that you needed to run something like that, I can only imagine that it's made you a better assistant to Austin this year, just knowing how much help he needs, right?
I mean, I have a new level of compassion and empathy for Chubby and all the managers. There's so much that goes into it. So it's definitely a good perspective to have, just knowing what he's going through thought process wise on the day-to-day, whether it's player interactions, lineups, whatever it might be. There's a lot on their plate.
So you went from Muhlenberg, and then we just talked about your last experience at Cornell. So let's talk about your experience now. You moved on to Emory University.
Yes. That is one of the places I'm most grateful for sure. Took that job down there and was there for a year and a half. Really, really prestigious D3 program. The staff there is incredible. I learned from all three of them. And we're lifelong friends now.
Yeah.
I met my fiance in Atlanta, so that brought me that. And it was actually the link to the Dodgers was Connor McGinnis. And he graduated from Emory. He coached at Emory for a little bit, and I met him at an alumni golf tournament, and we just kind of took off from there. So definitely very, very grateful to Emory University.
So that kind of answered one of my next questions was how did you get linked up with the Dodgers? So I guess you just answered that, huh?
Yes, I did not know for a long, long time who just slid my resume over and said, hey.
Oh, you
take a
didn't know
look
for a
here.
while, huh?
I did not.
Oh,
I did
very
not.
cool.
Yes, but Connor and I developed a good relationship where maybe once a month for about a year, once every few months, he'd shoot over a mechanical question. I'd shoot him a mechanical question, just
Nice.
kind of see how we all look at things. And you know, I've learned so much from him. But I went through the interview process, went really well, and really enjoyed the environment with the Dodgers. I really believed in what they were trying to do with the pitchers and the direction the department was going, and it was a no-brainer.
So here you got this guy that's going up the ranks and making all of this progress and meeting all these people that will network in the game. Then all of a sudden 2020 hits. You know, I've asked players, hey, what did you do? And they were like, well, we were scrambling to find facilities. So where were you assigned to be in 2020? And when things got canceled, just kind of tell us how you spent that year.
Yeah, so 2020, I was supposed to be the development coach in Rancho.
Oh, okay.
So I would have been with Chubby, Ryan Denick, Jason Bourgeois, and Dustin Kelly. We would have had phenomenal staff. But that was a year that was extreme. Might have been my most productive year as a coach because we were on Zoom calls every day, treating it like it was a season, simulating outings, game planning, education. And Ryan Denick was the head pitching coach on that team, and I got to learn from him every day. And he's one of the sharpest pitching minds that there is. So being able to interact with him for hours every single day with nothing but focusing on what he's teaching, what he's seeing, and kind of producing as an educational skill set for our guys was unbelievable.
I try to tell people the continuity and the culture in this Dodgers organization is so phenomenal. You talk about working with Denick, and now you're both pitching coaches at two different locations, and you pass the baton to each other with your pitchers. So that coordination has to go just absolutely smooth, doesn't it?
Yes. And last year, Brian Denick was with Durano Linger. He's a pitching coach in Rancho now. So there's three continuous levels that you've had different pitching coaches who have worked together, which makes it really, really nice for us, even just from a communication standpoint. And we know how each other works, where you know, he might view this, we might view this. It just makes the player pass along progress really, really easy.
So 2021, you're at the Complex League. I must say, you know, I'm very curious what all goes on in that complex. Is it like a high A or low A season, or is it more instructional, or I mean, is it more of a scrimmage setting, or how does that work?
Yes, so that it's a little bit different. They go through extended spring training, which is more of an instructional league. They opened up, I want to say, a week ago now. It was after our Fort Wayne series. So it was they just started the regular season. They get about 60 games in. So they still play the same amount that we do. Just half of those are more instructional based. There's nothing on the record. And then the second half is full go, full season, 5 games a week. A little bit different on the day-to-day just because you're not spending travel trips on the road. You're in the same bed every night. But it is a really good opportunity for guys to get their feet wet into professional baseball for sure.
All right, let's get to the fun part. Let's talk about your 2022 Loons, who are on an absolute tear. Let me count this up. You won the last 5 against Dayton. I believe you won 4 out of 6. So you're 9-2 in the last, and you went from being 7.5 back to a half a game back, all in the last 11 games, which is unbelievable. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, but in the Midwest League, you know, the winner of the division for each half of the season qualifies for the playoffs. So you say, okay, well, they're a half game back. Well, they have the whole No, they don't. They want, you know, you want to win your division for the first half because then you're guaranteed that playoff spot. So first of all, talk about the amazing last 2 series you guys have had.
Man, this has been an unbelievable run. We went into Dayton. Dayton had the best record in the league. Really good team. Hitters 1 through 9. They're a good ball club. And we went in. We got beat 14-8 on night 1. We're 8.5 back, and then we ripped off 5.
Yeah.
And each game, you find a way to close the first game. Then you feel like you can win the second. We won the second game of a doubleheader, and then all of a sudden, you win the next day, and all of a sudden it's just you don't feel like you can lose. You're going back out, you expect to win, and the guys are confident. So it was really good to see them in an environment like that. They were sold out every night. The fans were on top of you, playing a good opponent, and for guys to step up in different roles was really cool to see.
You talked about all the different roles being cool to see. One of them that sticks out to me, of course, there were so many of them, but watching Cole Percival get the last 3 outs of a game, that is must-watch TV, man. Is that not fun?
It is. You never know what you're going to see, so you got to watch it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, hey, you have 18 pitchers, I think I counted on the active roster. So, first of all, of course, you're very smart. We've already talked about that. But how in the world do you keep 18 pitchers happy and get them enough work?
It's tough. The first thing I'd commend with that is the group of guys that we have.
Yeah.
They do an unbelievable job being realistic with themselves, what they need each day. So guys touch the mound when they need to. We obviously structure in their bullpens how we want to go about things, but they've taken a lot of accountability in their own development. So you don't have any guys that they might go 4 or 5 days without pitching, but they haven't gone that amount of days without touching the mound in some form of competitive environment. So they're staying sharp. And again, I almost feel like it's the same way I described my first experience in the Atlantic League. They're around guys that all sharpen each other.
Yeah.
You look around, there's somebody on our staff, anybody that you pick out does something that you say, hey, that's intriguing. So they're pushing each other, they're getting after it. And you just got to find spots for guys. Even at this level, you love the matchups. You love finding holes that you can exploit, but there's an element that we need to get guys in. We need to get guys in. So we pick the best spot we can for guys, but we trust that anybody can get anybody out in the other lineup in any position we put them in.
I would say so. You have a pretty talented group. First of all, if you don't mind, talk about the 5-inning no-hitter from Kyle Hurt. That was cool, wasn't it?
That was cool. That was very cool. So that was actually one of my favorite games to be a part of, not just because of the results, but Kyle had a tough one the time before. We push guys pretty hard, educating them in their own game planning based on their own arsenal usage and reading swings, etc. But that one, Kyle came in and I said, what's the game plan? And he said, I'm going to throw this, this, and this, and they're all going to be for strikes. And I said, anything else? He goes, nope. And I said, you know what? I think this is a good day to roll with this. So he went out. And that happened, and it was electric. He was giving me the wink all day, like I told you I had it.
Yeah, 91 mile-an-hour slider, man. That's pretty impressive stuff. That's quite the right arm for him. Hey, also the return of Carlos Duran. That's exciting.
That's also exciting. Carlos is so talented, so gifted. He's got so many weapons. He's a 6'7" frame that moves like you'd expect a 6-foot shortstop to move. So he's got a lot of ways to get things done. Power sinker. Slider's unbelievable. Changeup's really good. So he's got a bright future.
Unique motion too, doesn't
he? Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Cole
and he's
Dunsing
got the ability to vary timing, all that. So he's not a fun at bat.
Cole Dunsing, when I see him, of course, I'm a little bit older, but I kind of see a little Goose Gossage just in the way that he carries himself.
I can see that.
Yeah, and just kind of his motion a little bit. He just, he's just like, hey, you're out. That kind of thing.
Yes.
And then Braden Fisher.
Yes.
I love watching, man, his ball. He has what I call a heavy ball, meaning it has so much late life to it that it just never seems like you get it on the right part of the bat. So talk about those two right quick, if you don't mind.
Oh, no doubt. Those two have been huge in this stretch. I think Cole has had 8 of his last 10 outings be scoreless. The fastball is an impact fastball. Everything works off the fastball for him. One of the things he's done incredibly well, he's made a little bit of a delivery adjustment, and he's riding the fastball a lot better. And he's getting comfortable targeting right at the belt. Exactly. He's got a little bit of an angle to the fastball too, so he can play the vertical game, attack you at the belt line, attack you at the knees. And then he works the slider and the changeup off of that. So for him, the fastball is the calling card. Speed's the secondary pitch, obviously, and it supports the fastball, but everything's about the fastball for Cole right now.
Yeah. Talk about Braden Fisher a little bit, yeah.
Oh, Braden's been unbelievable. He came. We knew he's had a fastball.
Did you get to meet Mom and Dad? They're really cool, aren't they?
I have not.
Yeah.
My fiance met them, and she said that they were incredible people as well. Yes, Braden, great kid. Tons of talent in the right arm there. Always
Finally
had a
healthy.
fastball. Yes, completely healthy right now. Knocking on wood. Keep it there. But he's shown 3 pitches in zone, which he's never done before, and he's got differentiation between the curveball with some depth. Really hard slider right now, making left turns. So he's got 3 viable pitches, and if you look at his splits, lefties have a ton of time. He's got a front to back option with the curveball now with the ride fastball. He can back foot you to finish. There's no good way to go about that at bat, knowing that he's got 3 pitches like that.
Nick Nastrini, Lyle Lockhart Jr., if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, those are some talented ones too. Our whole it's fun. You could do this all day.
Oh yeah.
Nastrini's one of the hardest workers I've ever been around. Really, really good to work with because he's so bought into his own development. He's got ideas every single day he comes up with. So he's just a really curious guy, knows his delivery in and out. And his commitment to his own development and getting to the big leagues is second to none.
Yeah, so 2020 kind of created a big logjam with every system. You see it in college ranks too, because everybody got that year back, and it's really just kind of created a logjam in minor league baseball as well. So how do you handle that situation?
That's been a tough thing. That goes all the way up to the top. The way the Dodgers have done has been unbelievable. Just reinforcing that each guy is on the path that they're supposed to be on, and their timeline's different than everybody else's. And guys, for the most part, have bought into that, which you see when Tulsa's playing the way they are. Our guys are playing the way we are right now. Rancho's playing the way they are. Guys trust that they're in the right spot and know that things are going to pan out the way they're supposed to. So I think it just comes from the leadership. Will Rhymes, Brandon Gomes, Friedman, all the way down. It's our leadership core is really, really strong, and they do a great job educating the guys on what we envision from them.
That segues us perfectly into the next question I wanted to ask you, and that is just the environment in the Dodgers organization, the culture they create, the continuity. We've already talked about that, but just talk about the culture the Dodgers create.
Yeah, I've had this in a couple interviews before, and it's not to be cliche. It's just hard to explain unless you experience it. It's unlike any other culture I've ever been a part of. I've loved all my stops in college, all the cultures that we created in summer ball. Nothing has come close to this. And it's kind of hard to explain, but just think about the most high functioning environment with the best resources, and everybody's pulling the same end of the rope. That's the way I would describe it. And just because everybody's pulling the same end of the rope doesn't mean they don't have different viewpoints.
Sure.
We've got so many different schools of thought that I think we're starting to learn to integrate together better than most. So it's just a really productive environment. You get pushed to learn, you get pushed to be better every single day, and you can't be stagnant. So you're constantly learning and evolving and becoming better at what you do.
Did you see where Jose hit 99 the other night?
I did. Oh man, so pumped up to see him. He's a fun one. Yeah, he is very fun.
Yeah. Hey, David, I appreciate your time. I've taken a whole bunch of time on the busiest day. This is your one off day, and I'm sure it's the busiest day of your week every week. So I appreciate you carving out so much time for me here at Dodger Poke, and this is going to be part of the Dodgers Down the Farm podcast for the Great Lakes Loon section of that. And I know that Dodgers fans are really going to enjoy getting to hear from you again. So thank you so much for carving out time for Dodger Poke Report.
Absolutely, Casey. Anytime.